assistant or something similar to that title.
John, good stuff. John, another necessary evil we got to get to this morning. If you're listening, you guessed it. AJ Brown. He's John. It's all over the place.
What's going on with AJ? What's going on with AJ?
Look, everywhere I look, it's all AJ Brown, man. I mean, I'm on the NFL Network. It's AJ Brown. I'm on BleedingGreenNation.com. It's AJ Brown. I'm reading the Boston Herald and the Boston Globe. All they're writing about is how the Patriots might have tried to acquire AJ Brown. Also, some late news on the saga, I guess you can call it at this point, is that the Eagles' asking price. What's the word that was used for it? They're
unserious.
Unserious has been the quote floating around there about what the Eagles want for AJ Brown. What's the latest, John, on AJ Brown and the Philadelphia
Eagles? The combine was a little bit early. Again, pre-agency, for the most part, the legal negotiation period starts March 9th. So you're still kind of, I don't want to say early in the process. It's creeping up. It's a week, but you still have time to saber rattle. Shouldn't use that since we're at war. By the way, hope everybody's safe out there and our troops. But from a football perspective, there's still some time to posture. I'll use that term. What I've heard is the Eagles have asked for a first-round pick and another premium pick, so that means day 2, second or third. That is kind of unserious when you think about it. The best comp is DK Metcalf last year, and AJ's ironically good friends, ex-teammates. Both Old Miss guys. DK is very good as well. And that was I believe, the 52nd overall pick going to Pittsburgh, giving up the 52nd overall. And then there was a pick swap, day 3 pick, 6th and 7th round. That was DK. Now, I think it's fair to say you should get a little bit more than that for AJ Brown. And both, the complications, both are highly paid. So that factor, that's kind of even as well. So I do think it's unserious, but, there are people saying, well, because of the situation and because they think, again, most of this stuff comes from outside the Jefferson Health Training Complex and what people around the league perceive, which is the Eagles are going to trade AJ Brown. That's where all this comes from. People around the league outside of Philadelphia believe they're going to trade AJ Brown. Why do they believe that? Because that's generally what happens in these types of situations. So they're going off of, history, and that tends to be what happens. So that's where it all comes from. And you got people offering 3rd-round picks, which I would also say is unserious. So both sides are being unserious. And to me, nothing's changed from the standpoint of the Eagles. This is a huge cap hit if they trade him. Why would they trade him? Well, the only reason they would trade him is because he absolutely does not want to be here. That's it. Absolutely doesn't want to be here. And then, from a situation.
Do you have any way to confirm if that's true, John, that he absolutely does not want to be here?
No, I have no idea. I'm saying if that's the case.
Right. Yeah. I was just asking if you did hear someone or you talked to somebody that might have given you some intel on that.
So that to me, I'm not even having these discussions. If there's middle ground to where you say, hey, Sean Mannion's we're changing and get him back on board to a certain extent. I'm not even having any of these discussions because this is simply not the time to trade AJ Brown from a contract standpoint. It impacts too much of the other things you have to do. So that part of it to me hasn't changed. I do think, and I've said this pretty consistently, if the contract wasn't an issue and you didn't have these huge dead money penalties and cap penalties, I do think they trade him because I do think, the organization's a little frustrated about what's gone on over the past 2 years, but that's not the case. So I don't want to call it an ugly situation, but it's not a helpful situation.
Yeah, I think it's getting pretty close to being an ugly situation. I mean, it's kind of bogging down the whole process for the Eagles. I mean, just in the sense that everybody's got to answer to it. Everybody, like I said, it's the top story in every damn outlet, no matter where you go, which may or may not matter, but the Eagles do care about, perception and things like that. So it's definitely a big part of it. And we will see what ends up happening with A.J. Brown. Obviously had a hit on that. But, John, a good weekend in the NFL with the Combine wrapping up. And as we pointed out at the start of the show, 1 week away from the legal negotiating period, John, as we call it here on Birds 365. 1 week away.
You know why we call it that, Xander? Because that's what it's called.
That's the truth. That's right, John.
No matter what anybody else writes and no matter how many times they say it, it's never been used by the NFL. One of my pet peeves, by the way.
Yeah, but if you don't hit them with the legal tampering period, some of our great listeners might not know what the hell we're talking about because everywhere else they read it, it's called the legal tampering period.
Well, I would direct them to the dictionary and look up oxymoron.
It is the most clear-cut oxymoron out there. Is that the legal tampering period?
Yeah. So I used to, for some reason that was a big stickler with Jody because he's been saying it for so long. He's been on the air for so long. And I'm like, dude, they've never called it that. Never. And he said, where did it start? I don't know where it started. But just because it's cooler to say, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, we'll see what ends up happening in that legal negotiating period. And if anything comes from the Eagles. John, any update real quick before we move in? We got Jeff Kerr coming up here in a second. Looking forward to talking to Jeff Kerr. John, I've been gauging your AJ meter. It's been 53.47. Last we checked in with you on that after the weekend of updates and things that came out. Not much new, but things that came out. As the meter moved at all?
Yeah, I'm back to 51.49. He's back.
Whoa!
The meter has dipped. Yeah, gone back to. He'll be back. I just, knowing Howie and how stubborn he is, it's not going to give him away for lesser value. It's so difficult they have so many things to do. I think it'll be more like the Zach Ertz situation. And if he does trade it, it'll go into the season at the trade deadline if things continue to go poorly. And that's probably a wrong thing to do. This is just from an asset standpoint, this is the time of year to get things done. Again, putting the salary stuff aside, which you can't, just from an asset standpoint, this is the time where you're going to get the most because everybody has budgeted. Everybody has their whole budget. Everybody has all their assets as far as draft picks and things like that. So they can give you the most right now. But I just think Howie's stubbornness and, again, they have so many things to do to strap yourself from cap standpoint. This is going to impact you in other ways. So I'm back to 51%. He's back.
Wow, interesting. I thought you were going to go the other way or maybe break the 53 number that we have yet to break, but you went the other way. Interesting stuff.